Hi everyone, it's the Film Scholars. Today we're going to talk about Game of Thrones Season 7. I've got with me always late Hamza, my brother Fahad and Awais, and obviously I'm your main host Assad. So let's do a quick recap of what happened in last season.
Okay, in Season 6, Episode 10, what happened was, as you all know, Cersei used wildfire to destroy the Sept of Baela.
Can I make a quick commentary on that?
Yes sir, go ahead.
Okay, so they really built up a lot, and then they killed off a lot of characters all in the same go. And
hold on, man! You're already firing shots. Let him summarize, and then we'll go into detail.
Okay, alright. As he said, he made a good point. As we saw storyline with Marjorie, where she handed a note to what's her name again? Olenna, yeah. So
okay, it's coming back to me now.
Yeah, there's a big storyline with that and the religion and everything that was going on.
That's where guy.
It seemed like it was going to be. There was being set up towards something.
Anyway,
but deadlines came in.
So that was the previous season. She blows up everybody. Tommen kills himself. This season, I'm gonna already go fire shots at it. It was very slow. I'm gonna say not much happened. If you think about it, Daenerys comes. She doesn't attack King's Landing. She doesn't take anything. I think she has one.
Considering there's 7 1-hour episodes and the finale was 1 hour 20 minutes, not a lot happened. They could have probably covered that in 4 episodes.
Jon comes down. Bends the knee to Daenerys. That's goes back up. The White Walkers finally,
the Whites in it. They walk. They sure walk.
See, this
slowly.
is one of the problems with the story of Game of Thrones. Is if you go back to the first season, the first episode, the Whites are shown as like this evil baddie that's coming.
Yeah.
So and then they decapitate some people, and you're like, ooh, who are these Whites? Ooh. And then the actual time to get to the wall is the last episode of season 7. So that's a pretty big gap if you ask me. So anyway, that was a quick summary of what happened in season 7.
Okay, so let's talk about the bridge from
season. That was the summary of season 6.
No, we're talking about season 6 was end.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Average movie goes. Yeah. So we'll talk about that gap from season 6 to season 7. So we see all that stuff, but there are 2 major storylines of what happens. Arya kills Walder Frey after she shows him the pie, and there was a thing in the pie of one of Walder Frey's children.
Oh, the last episode, yes.
Yeah, that was the last episode of season 6. But then in season 7, we see the scene where she poisons everyone's wine and kills basically the whole of the Freys. That's the one storyline that carried over, and we'll talk about that in a minute. The next storyline was where Yara and Theon steal all the Ironborn ships and they flee. Euron then says he has to build 1,000 ships,
which he magically manages to do with in this surprisingly short amount of time.
So we'll get to that. So from season 6 episode 10 to season 7 episode 1, Euron builds 1,000 ships within magically, like, I don't know how long the period was, but we can measure it in this way. Arya's still in the frame.
Arya says is 2 weeks because Arya says, I know you guys came to see me 2 weeks ago, where you come again. So we've got like a rough. If you ever need to build 1,000 ships, it takes about 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly, 1,000 ships. So that's shocking.
So we can do the basic math calculation, if I could be bothered, of how many ships it takes per hour.
And another one.
Also, let's just point out that the Islands has crap resource. They didn't seem like there's many trees there.
Yeah.
So I don't know where they got the wood.
Yeah, that's another factor. And I think Euron may be a time traveller because he made it all the way to King's Landing while Daenerys sent...
Well, he's not the only time traveller. Varys has been travelling from Westeros to Essos quite frequently and quite fast. So I would say it's magic teleportation.
I think Euron's is even worse because what he does is he catches up to the Iron Fleet his niece and nephew had, attacks them, destroys them, goes back to King's Landing, has a party, does a bit of celebration. Then he catches up with Grey Worm on the other side of the
this
country.
wouldn't be a problem, but they released a map on the show, and you can clearly see the things are very far apart. And HBO have also released an interactive map which tells you exactly how far away things are. And King's Landing to what's it called?
I know them.
Casterly Rock by sea is a very, very long distance.
So what Euron basically done, he went from the Iron Islands to King's Landing,
all the way around.
Yeah. So he went all the way around. Then he had to stop them from going to Sunspear.
Then he had a party.
He went back to King's Landing, done what he had to do. Then he went from King's Landing to Casterly Rock.
He ruined the Grey Worm's plan. Then he went back to King's Landing as well. Also, So he's done quite a few trips in a surprisingly short space of
That's
time.
one of the few problems. I don't know what you can call it, but that's the only thing that I saw bad.
Okay, in the first few seasons, travel was like a big thing. Daenerys getting anywhere, it took her a long time. There was a lot of risks. People died on the way. Now travel has become kind of like, hey, we need to travel here. Do you remember when Rob was coming down from Winterfell?
Yeah.
It took time for the banners to gather. There was a real sense of like, okay, this is going to be a journey. Not, hey, we need to attack Castle Rock from King's Landing.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the reasons they said that they've cut a lot of the travel time out is to kind of speed up the show, because this season was only 7 episodes.
So why is there so much filler in the show and very little stuff actually happens? There's like,
Yeah.
hey guys, let's have a reunion. But we
does-
just had a reunion last episode.
That last
Let's add a bit of awkward jokes in there.
That last episode was amazing. It wasn't a reunion because we saw some characters that haven't met each other, and for all them characters to come together in that episode was amazing because you saw the different relationships between different characters. You see Euron and Theon meet up again after Euron has kidnapped Yara. Then you see Cersei and meeting Jon Snow for the first time, which is amazing. Cersei meeting Dany for the first time.
That was rather unmemorable.
Yeah, I was going to say, okay, she met Jon Snow. Jon Snow made a bit of impression purely because of the white that he killed.
And you rejected her.
But Daenerys didn't seem to do anything. She just sat there and said, I've seen them.
Yeah,
Oh,
That's about it. That's about the only thing she
She
said.
came in on a dragon.
Why couldn't you just lie to Cersei and say, yes, I'll stay in the north? No, I've already bent the knee.
That's his core
character.
principle of his
That's
character.
it.
The thing
I
is,
don't understand, because
Jon
he's
Snow-
not necessarily lying, because she's not saying swear fealty to me, because she's
But
still
you know,
accepts
you
her
can
in the north.
see it. You know, Ned Stark's kids. You can see that the sons are like, they're very simple-minded. They don't think tactfully, and they're trying to portray the North as like a simpleton land almost.
Even Theon, to some extent,
Yeah, because obviously
he's conflicting from what Ned's like brought him up as to
Yeah.
what he actually is. Well, you know, it's
But you
just a
can see
conflict in his character.
the female Starks are very different.
Yeah.
As in, they don't, the one who passes the sentence doesn't swing the sword in bed.
No, I was going to say they're a bit more sneaky. Arya's a bit of an assassin.
Yeah.
Sansa does all her sneakiness. So they just shows different characters.
Can you just carry on talking about the reunion scene?
Oh yeah.
Like, it was very obvious that all of these major characters are going into extreme danger, like Daenerys and these a lot. It's pretty, I don't know, from a tactical point of view, it sounds like a pretty bad idea to put all your major government into where they could all get assassinated.
That was the danger going in. They did show that.
Why did they need to go
Okay.
in? She has 2 dragons that could wipe out, that can take King's Landing in a...
That's it. So she can turn
Oh,
up.
you're
That's the
talking
reason.
about the whole meeting that
why
Tyrion
did-
sends up. So this brings me back to another point. I think Tyrion Lannister is the worst hand ever. In the first look, I think this is how the first season should have gone. Arrive at Dragonstone.
You mean season 7 start with?
Yeah, the start of this season should have happened. Arrival at Dragonstone. Yeah, cool. This is a nice start. The destruction of King's Landing, when they burn the Red Keep down, they burn everyone there. Yeah, there's going to be some deaths.
You just need to burn the Red Keep, you don't need to kill King's Landing.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know why she gets. Daenerys is now the rightful king.
Okay,
Or queen,
so
sorry.
I can't remember if it's mentioned in the show, but Aegon Targaryen didn't kill that many people, because when he killed them, people realized, hey, we're not going to win. Maybe we should bend the knee. So you don't have to actually burn
And
the
I
entire
don't know
city
why
down.
and nobody's thinking about the long-term death count from a long, dragged-out war. Tyrion's there. Let's split up half our army. You guys go to the other side and attack Casterly Rock, which is the real seat of power. When did that happen? Nobody cares about Casterly Rock.
Secondly, I don't think you realize it, but sieges, a lot of people die. There's a lack of food. Dude, does nobody remember the siege when Stannis Baratheon was attacking?
Yeah.
And that leads to another point where Jaime Lannister attacks the Tyrells. And they specifically went back to gather their army together so they would go siege King's Landing.
Let's go back to season 2 or 3 where it's clearly stated that the Tyrells will decide who becomes the king, because they have the most food, so therefore they have the biggest army.
Yeah.
Now in this season, suddenly they get taken over by a small Lannister army. We don't see what happens, and then Olenna says, "Yep, our standards are the Rose, therefore we are not good at fighting."
It's a bit of a simpleton explanation.
I'm like, God.
It's true, you can go back to that, but now you're talking about the big meeting.
But they never lost
Yeah.
any men. Yeah.
Oh, and then don't you think that Daenerys agreeing to the meeting and Tyrion setting up this whole meeting was so stupid? Cersei Lannister, everybody knows that she blew up the Sept.
Is she really a reasonable person to go and negotiate with?
Yeah, and then you're going into King's Landing.
But that's the thing though, look how powerful Daenerys is, where she can walk in there and not get killed by Cersei.
Yeah.
Just because Cersei knows if she does anything, she's got
Do you think Cersei,
3 dragons.
does the person that blows up the set really care?
No,
Secondly,
she cares about herself and her kid. You gotta remember that. Like she's still.
But nobody knows that. You're speaking from knowledge that the characters don't have.
I'm just saying, as Daenerys, Daenerys wouldn't want to go into the.
Okay, let's one thing. End of season 6-10. Yeah, it was awesome. Cersei blew up the set. She has absolute no claim to the throne. She's not the senior most Lannister male either. We've been talking about the entire show has been built up on feudalism. There's absolutely no way that any Lannister bannerman would accept her as the queen. They wouldn't accept her as the Lord of Casterly Rock, let alone Queen of the Seven Kingdoms.
Who would be the ruler then, if you did follow that?
Who would?
Jamie Lannister is probably the senior most. Isn't Kevin Lannister there?
Oh, I guess so, yeah. But why would he go to the Lannisters? Surely it's the Baratheon.
I'm not talking about the king. I'm talking about the head of the Lannisters, and the head of the Lannister could probably make a claim for.
I think Jamie's scared of her though, so he kind of just like.
Jamie's not scared of her. Jamie's a bit. He's not good scared. Jamie loves her. And
Jamie is a complete non-character in this season. He's gone from he lost his hand, he became an interesting character to I'm going to do absolutely nothing in this season apart from give dirty looks to Euron because he's making jokes about my sister.
Does she like a finger in the bum?
Yeah, that's literally.
I will talk later.
Yeah, but okay, I do agree with that point.
If only I think I can do a really good impression of Jamie Lannister.
I don't think they can see the.
You can't see it, but
well, we can put the screenshot up in it. So you guys
I will
We'll
take a
actually
picture
do that.
of
We'll put the screenshot up later.
Yeah, but Jamie had that arc where he was the worst character in there. No one liked him.
I mean, he did do some.
And now he's got no arc though.
Yeah, but he did that one tactical move where he pulled the army away from Casterly Rock and took over the tunnels. That's about the
and
only
teleported
thing.
his army to High Garden. Let's talk about that. 10,000 men marching over hundreds of miles is kind of hard to hide.
It is, but they didn't show us really. They showed us from one point to the other point. So
yeah, but that does follow the Game of Thrones kind of story where they don't show a lot of the stuff that happens in the background. Or
no one else noticed either, and we're going back to the teleportation issue where, I mean, on the map, Casterly Rock and High Garden.
Since we're talking about time travel and super speed, what about when Jon Snow and his group of men go north? They get trapped on that little middle island.
Then Gendry runs back to the wall, sends a raven, flies from there to Dragonstone, approximately, according to the online map, about 1,000 miles. Mm-hmm. Then Daenerys flies back another 1,000 miles, all before the space of a night.
Yeah,
didn't he run back a bit fast? Is that what you're saying?
Didn't you know wasn't it established that he's the fastest runner?
Jon Snow said he's
or was that just like a random comment? Or did Jon Snow throw out a random comment and thought, you know what, there's got to be a reason why I send this guy back. Let's just say he's a fast runner, even though we haven't established it in the show. Much like, when you throw a random javelin, ice javelin.
And then the first problem with that scene is that Daenerys gets there way too quickly, and they're still just.
But guys, don't you know? We really wanted to see dragons going north, and we wanted to see the flaming stuff.
And then this is where
it's so cool.
Always wanted to jump in there. He's really desperate.
With the dragon, I don't have an issue with the dragon because we don't really know how fast the dragon can travel. Yeah, it did travel.
Oh yeah, the dragon came north, but that raven was.
But we needed to have Juice X Dragoner.
Then there's what's it? Gendry. Gendry did run a bit fast, and now there's another problem with Gendry. You see how he disappeared in that time. We never saw Gendry in episode 7 either, so I don't know if he's resting. I don't know what that is.
That's actually a very good point.
Because he's possible heir to the throne, and
he's a bastard. He's not heir to the throne.
Yeah, but come on, Jon Snow.
Yeah.
They all thought he was a bastard of Ned Stark, but they made him king. So it shows the possibility that he could be.
Yeah.
There's also a theory that he's like part Targaryen as well.
Who?
Gendry.
DJ Gendry B.
Gendry was born
I just read it before I came here, literally.
The Baratheons are part thingies from Targaryens. That's why that's why they became kings anyway.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
They had the best claim to the throne.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, back to the north of the wall scene. When the dragons come, in this whole season, the dragons actually up to first half are shown to be like super powerful. They take place in that giant.
They should. Okay, I'm gonna say they should be super powerful because we've been building up for 7 seasons about how powerful they will be. We've got stories going on and on. So it's justified that they're powerful.
What do you guys think? Now, this isn't a split opinion. about the Night King's javelin throw that kills, I think it's Viserion.
Okay, let me speak. Let me speak about the dragons. Firstly, in the first few episodes, the dragons you could tell them apart. It's really difficult to tell the dragons apart now. You see Drogon and there's the other two, you know,
Viserion and
Rhaegar. The major rule for story narrative is powerful weapons have to be set up. There's a rule called Chekhov's gun.
You mentioned it.
Chekhov's gun is like, you know, in a film when you see a gun in the first scene and everyone's like looking at it and like, I wonder if this gun would work. And in the last scene, some guy has to use it to shoot somebody, and you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Like prime example would be Breaking Bad, the last season, if you have seen it. That's another story.
Yes, perfect example. Another one within Game of Thrones which didn't quite work was the ballista anti-dragon weapon, which was set up. It didn't work out, but narratively the dragons have been set up for 6 seasons. Remember, in shows things are powerful depending on how much screen time they get. So,
but then I just want to say about that.
But then the javelin just turns up. He throws it 300 meters, arcing perfectly, and it decides to kill. It's
a one-hit kill.
Yeah, I mean, for people who are video game fans, it's like you spend all this time and experience to build up your super powerful unit or weapon, and then some guy comes along and he uses an overpowered one to destroy you, and then you turn the game off.
But don't you think it changed the dynamic of the whole show, where everyone's in the back of their mind, everyone thought, the White Walkers are coming, but there's dragons. They're just going to burn them all down.
Don't get me wrong. What they did wasn't wrong. The way they set it up was wrong. What they could have done is shown a javelin to be powerful in the previous episode. One example is he could have thrown the javelin and it could have injured a dragon, and everyone would be like, oh crap. But then maybe another dragon has to stay and sacrifice itself, and it's like, okay, it dies, even in the same scene, or maybe in another episode.
No, but they do show those the White Walkers' weapons. They shatter all other steel whenever they touch it, apart from...
that's not quite the same thing. I mean, we've seen spears and stuff hit into dragons with no effect. In fact, no weapon, apart from that ballista, has had any sort of effect on them.
Going back to that ballista, the ballista, firstly, it gets reloaded by one man so quickly, and he fires it at a very upward angle, and it seems to carry a lot of force, which I think seems pretty unrealistic. I know people are going to say, oh yeah, why are you being so technical? But he loads it way too quickly, and the dragon, although it has a giant ballista fired at it, doesn't realise, hey, that guy just tried to shoot me. Let me burn him down.
If we are going to go technical, it's very difficult to hit a moving object, even though a hard large flying with a ballista. I mean, he missed the first shot. Drogon could very easily have just burnt the entire ballista alive the first second that he saw it.
It's true, some of the setups are pretty weird if you think about it. But let's talk about the javelin. With the javelin, before all this javelin nonsense, we thought that Daenerys is OP if you talk about it in gaming terms.
Yeah.
She's just too powerful. 3 dragons and no one can tame them, no one can stop them. So anyone in Westeros, they can't do nothing about it.
Not quite. The dragons are a double-edged sword because they're so powerful, but they're a bit uncontrollable as well, as we've seen before.
Yeah, they were uncontrollable.
But now they
had an arc for this. She couldn't control them, and then she kind of...
That's it, yeah. So everyone thought, nothing to do with the dragons. Now that this javelin throw, I think actually kind of...
This javelin throw is a balancing patch.
For me, that's exactly what it does.
But you can't... Do you understand why you can't do that? You can't have 7 seasons... You can't have 7 seasons of setup with dragon and you're like, bam, it's dead. It's got to be set up. You got to be
set up. I think the shock factor does carry. I do see what Awais' point is. It balanced it out. Now if you think about it, now we're going into the last season, you think, how are they going to defeat the White Walkers? Because they can kill everything. And even dragons don't work against them. So now there's a sense of everyone's vulnerable again.
Yeah.
It's almost like going back to the Superman script where the dragons are invincible. So no one's worried about the White Walkers. Now, because one of the White dragons got killed, everyone's like, ooh, the White Walkers.
That's it. And now...
It's still...
I accept that it was set up wrong, but I think something similar needed to happen.
Impact. You just needed
probably.
That addition from climax to further climax.
Do you think Dany wasn't sad enough that one of her dragons, her supposed children, died? Or was it lack of Emilia Clarke's acting abilities?
She wanted to bang Jon Snow, so she was more concerned about that.
Alright, let's talk about Jon Snow and the dynamic between him and Daenerys.
Hold on, one second before we go into that. Do we want to talk about when Jon Snow started? He could have just gotten the dragon and went.
And he started.
Okay.
No one understands.
There's so much to discuss.
I do, bro. I understand.
Okay,
let's
why did he do this? Hold on. Someone want to explain exactly what happened.
So basically, Jon Snow and his men are stuck. They're fighting for their lives. The dragons arrive, start burning everybody alive. Well, the undead people.
Yeah.
And then I think it's Drogon lands, and everyone starts loading on. And Jon Snow has the ability to load onto the dragon, so they can fly away, and everything can make a nice, easy escape. But he doesn't load. He doesn't get onto the dragon, and he starts fighting more undead. And further to that, he actually starts going away from the dragon, so fighting away, getting further away from the dragon.
And everyone's like, "Come on, John! You can't defeat an entire million-man
So
army."
now Awais is going to say why it happened. And I'll say why I think it happened.
Okay, there was a scene in the episode before that happened where Tyrion and Daenerys were talking.
I remember seeing there was a setup for this.
That's it. It was just, I think it's purely set up for this scene. She made a point that the people that love her, Darion, Naharis, and Drogo, they always attempted to be brave in front of her.
And
When they did, especially when they didn't need to be. So now, fast forward, everyone's on the dragon. Jon Snow can jump on the dragon, but he's just being brave. He's being courageous.
So basically, what you're saying is Jon Snow's an idiot.
Yeah.
No, I think he was like showing off to get with her.
That's
what
it.
he's
That's
saying,
exactly.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, that's it.
However, if you run into a horde of White Walkers, you're not going to get with anyone. It's not going to happen.
All right, let's talk about whites and internal rule consistencies. In the first season, whites were these very, very strong, slow-powered creatures that could only be killed by fire. Jon cuts his hand off and it carries on. It almost crushes him. Later on, whites become these fast. The Battle of Hardhome, I believe, they become fast, but they can be killed by conventional weapons.
Yeah.
Even in that last battle.
But then Jon Snow shows that they can only be killed by obsidian, dragon glass, and fire, even though he very clearly they killed many of them with using conventional weapons.
And the hammer as well, I think.
Yeah, the hammer as well.
Did they kill him or did they just like
It killed them. It killed them. It straight up killed them. So what's going on with the whites? Are they super slow and strong, or are they fast and weak? What's going on?
Maybe there's different types. I mean, they haven't really gone into them too much. Maybe there's two different types.
No,
I think but they should have at least pointed that out.
no. There's clearly they've got because they were killing them with swords, and then Jon goes, they can only be killed by fire and dragon glass. When they were killing, 10 of them were killing them. They were like, "Hey, we really don't need to buy a dragon glass. The giant just as easy to regular swords."
That's another point that I don't like. You see, at the fire and dragon glass, there's always emphasis on it, but there's a shitload of Valyrian steel swords that no one talks about. And Jon, when he cuts with them, the Oathbreaker or whatever his sword's called, it kills the walkers.
Longclaw.
Yeah, Longclaw. Sorry, yeah. And then you got 6 episodes.
But
left.
there's not that many of those actual White Walker creatures.
Yeah, and we do see if you kill a White Walker, then the whites that are under his command.
They all die apart from one, which you need to keep alive to bring back to King's Landing.
I mean, I think the only...
That
was a good point. That was a very good point.
I think...
Why did he die? Because the plot demanded it.
The plot.
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole sort of arc about them going north, capturing a white, bringing it back to convince Cersei to work with them is stupid, firstly, because they're going to go up against an army of the undead. And Jon knows this because I think previously with the Night's Watch, they encountered them and they lose loads of men.
Yeah.
And they were pre-prepared. They were pre-prepared for them. 250.
He goes up, I think, with maybe 20 men max, and he thinks, yeah, we'll capture one, bring it back.
Well, there were 13 men, but the shots interchangeably showed 13 and 10.
Yeah,
due to bad editing, obviously, the 3 died from the bear, but the shots of 10 men were shown earlier.
No, but that doesn't matter too much. But it's just he's got such a small.
Just to put that out.
He's got a small force, and he wants to capture it.
Yeah,
it's almost as if the dragon needs to go north, so that the White Walkers have the ability to knock the wall down in the last
Juice
episode.
X Dragon now.
Yeah, just forcing that to happen, basically.
Yeah. Or I also
because the plot demanded it.
Yeah. I also want to get into it that where did all the White Walkers get the giant chains to drag the dragon out of the lake?
Come on, alright lads, we can't go that deep into this. We can't go. We're blowing it apart.
Teleportation. I'm doing it magic.
No, because the reason
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can bring a dragon back to life. I'm sure you can find some chains.
The reason I'm doing it is
he killed a dragon with an ice javelin, bro. Does it really matter? He conjured us some chains.
No. The reason I'm doing it is because Game of Thrones in all the previous seasons has been built on realism. As soon as someone does something stupid that they would die in real life, they die in the show.
This is no longer true.
Exactly.
Game of Thrones has become a standard fantasy now.
That's true.
Because if Jon Snow died and then he came back to life and then he did something stupid in the Battle of the Bastards and he survived and then he keeps doing stupid things and he keeps staying alive, and now he's Aragorn, and he's pretty much invincible. He does 2 stupid things in that last episode, and his uncle still manages to come out of nowhere, and he gets 2 times Deus Ex Machina. That's how powerful a character he is.
If you look at
he uses like special abilities, when you're playing an RPG game.
You keep mentioning Deus Ex Machina. Do you want to explain it?
Deus Ex Machina is God. It means God in the machine. It's like when something bad is about to happen, like your heroes are surrounded, and then suddenly the dragons come flying and save them, or the Jedi army comes in.
It's a really good point though that you bring across, Fahad, because if you look at Ned Stark and Robb Stark, they made one little mistake and they paid.
Well, they were pretty big mistakes. Let's be honest.
Okay, fine. They made big mistakes. They made a mistake,
but
they paid for. No, compared to what Jon Snow's done.
There were consequences to their actions. The reason I think this is because the earlier seasons were lifted directly from the book, and George R. R. Martin is a big believer of consequences. The later ones, he gave them a free rein and said, this is what's going to happen. And it's very, very obvious that these writers are amateurs compared to George R. R. Martin. I'm going to say that straight.
Yeah, you can say that. That's your opinion. I believe, that with Jon Snow, obviously there's a lot of stupid stuff, but then during, like in all the books, they're building up the thing that the prince that was promised. So you got characters like Dondarrion and Jon Snow. They're the only 2 people that have been brought back to life. So they have a purpose from the Lord of Light. That's this.
If you believe that it's actually the Lord of Light, I mean, there's a lot of ambiguity.
Let's go into that a little bit. Like, what's the Lord of Light thing about? Has anyone got any theories for that, or
it's probably just like
random?
What if it's another demon like the Night King or something like that? Just alternative. I mean, because magic isn't really real. The religions aren't really real in this show as such. Who knows what it really is?
What about that Azor Ahai?
What if it's Bran?
Okay, we talk about Azor Ahai in a bit after this.
Okay.
So
Azor Ahai is another name for the prince that was promised.
Yeah, that's what it is. And there were 7 conditions for that. But now we can talk about Jon Snow. Where was I at again, man? I was making a good point. The Lord of Light. The reason why I can say the Lord of Light is real because he got the hand. Hand doesn't care about anything. You can say he gives no fucks or whatever you want to say, because he's one of the most truthful characters there. If he believes anything, he'll say. If he doesn't, he don't care. But when he looked into the flames, he saw something, and that's why you see a big change in him. Because remember when he left that old man and his daughter, and he
robbed them.
And he come back. You see that small character change. I wouldn't say he's religious, but he's starting to believe a bit more. And
but is the Lord potentially? I mean, this is just a theory that I have. Is the Lord of Light like the opposite of the Night King?
Yes,
think about the Night King is like the frost and the cold.
I think so.
And the Lord of Light seems to be based around fire and heat.
A song of ice and fire.
Yeah.
Is it just like the 2 opposites?
I want you to bring up.
Let's just talk about the Hound because you mentioned him. What happened to the Hound in this season? I think he's become such a pussy. Compared to the previous season. If you think back at the Battle of King's Landing, he's there fighting, he asks for the wine, spits out the water. I think Tyrion says, go out there, fight for your king, and he says, fuck the king. Which is quite a powerful thing to say. He's going around robbing people, killing people over chickens in barns or whatever. And in this season, his most memorable scene is the bear gets set on fire and he gets frozen like a pussy. What else does he do?
This is it, because he's been burnt. And then there was once before when he saw fire and he was also shitting it.
Where did those magic flaming swords come from? Because I thought they had to set them on fire and only Beric had them. But obviously with the wave of their hand, they can get magic flame swords. I mean, the rest of the party...
No, Beric and Darren does it. When he fights the Hound, he just lights it with his hand. Only 2 of them had it, not all of them had it.
But it was never really explained.
It's like a magical power.
Yes, Awais, you were saying about fire and hand.
Fire and hand, yeah. Before, we saw it once before when the hand saw fire, he kind of froze. And then he was very silent and he didn't know what to do. So because he's been burned from a young age, and then that's all the stuff.
It's his fear.
That's it.
It's been established that he's afraid of fire.
Yeah, but that's all they show of him though. They don't show
him kicking ass or anything.
Kicking ass or being the warrior.
I guess that's a character comes with.
But then you did see when he's throwing stones at the
stupidity.
Yeah.
But that's the hand though. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
I guess that's a little bit.
He messed up there big time.
But what?
That was his fault.
Are you sure it was his fault? They would have attacked anyway. I don't understand what happened there.
But
they realized the ice was solid.
That's it. They were just waiting for it to get solid. And they didn't take
Okay, I understand now.
The hand.
I wanted to talk before I got cut off about the dynamic between Danny and Jon. They meet each other and then constantly you have characters telling Danny, hey Danny, you keep looking at Jon. Hey Jon, you like Danny. But no, we don't see any of that chemistry on screen. We just hear people talking about it, and it's really, really annoying and forced.
It's because the meetings with Jon and Danny, they're mostly formal. So when they talked, it was just about business and Nothing else.
But they could have put some.
They could have put something
scenes where John's staring at her or she's staring at him, and they like eyes meet awkwardly. They could have done something else.
They had no on-screen chemistry. I'm gonna say it straight up. They had no on-screen chemistry.
They seem to like dislike each other because he wouldn't bend the knee.
Yeah.
But then he's like, you like Daenerys, and I was like, where's that come from? 2 minutes ago.
I was like, this is the writer saying, hey guys, you should know Danny likes John. John likes Danny. Ooh, are they gonna get it on? Ooh.
I thought they had good chemistry. I liked it all the way through.
They had no chemistry, okay?
I think after they go north of the wall, you can see the chemistry.
There was a little bit there.
Especially in the cave as well.
What?
In the cave.
But before that, they've been telling you really like her. Oh, you really like him.
Yeah,
it's like schoolboy antics.
Those were just subtle hints.
Subtle.
Okay.
Subtle.
Now that we mentioned the relationship of Dany and Daenerys, I mean Dany and Jon, I just want to talk about George R.R. Martin and his sicko incest. That he's got in this show, and he's trying to normalize it. First, I just want to say I think he's got some sort of sick, twisted mind. Firstly, he's got the two Lannister twins,
Jaime and
Cersei getting it on. Mm-hmm. And then what kind of pushed it over the edge, I think, for me was at the end of this season, at the same time that Bran and I think Sam Tarly are coming to realize that Jon is a Targaryen and actually the nephew of Daenerys. They cut to the scenes like Daenerys and Jon getting together and hooking up.
I don't know whether George R. R. Martin wrote that, because I think in the book Jon is not coming back and probably never meet.
No, but I think it does fit. It does fit in with his sort of themes, because he does some other weird stuff in the previous seasons where a lot of the times sex scenes are linked to torture scenes at the same time. One of the examples when what's his name? Theon gets his.
That's never explicitly stated in the books. It's only implied.
Oh no, but that's what I'm saying. It comes in the show, but yeah, it's implied heavily in it. He does a lot of implication, but in the show,
what I'm saying is it's more so to do with the show writers rather.
Do you reckon their show writers are sicko?
Yeah,
I think it's an offshoot of George.
But
I think
it's a shock factor thing.
I mean, the other one was I think Gendry's getting it on with the red-haired chick, and then she puts a leech on his, his pee-pee. That's what I'm saying. This show's a bit weird.
I need King's blood.
Pee-pee.
Exactly. Why do you need it from down there?
It's only place on you.
That's it.
Is it more potent or something? That's what I'm saying.
It'll only kill a king if I do it from there.
So in this show, I think originally, you showed me that meme where in the first season when you discover about
incest,
Jaime and Cersei, everyone's like everyone had that reaction.
Everyone's like, whoa.
But then people are almost rooting for Jon and Daenerys.
They were.
You already know that he's kind of a Targaryen because it came up in the last season where Bran sees it. Yeah. So you already...
He was. What difference does it make whether he's legitimized or not? It makes zero. The blood is the same. Why was that such a big deal? It was like, hey, not only is he, his son, but he's a Targaryen because... a convenient annulment which couldn't ever take place because you can't have an annulment after consummation.
What is his name as well? Is it Aegon?
Aegon, and he's already got an older brother who died who's called Aegon, so let's call him Aegon as well.
That's pretty.
Have you seen that meme? Aegon, gone, John. For like hold the door.
Now that you mentioned Hodor, I do want to come on to your point. Okay, this season I did like parts of it, but there were very few iconic scenes that you remember. If you go back to the other seasons, even looking at last season, there were some big scenes. Yeah. The reveal of Jon, they were built up over
the big reveal of Hodor is probably one of the best episodes that I've seen.
That's what I'm saying.
That was
big
really
things
powerful.
Happened in this season. There wasn't that much big things because the dragons had already been seen at the arena, burning down loads of people. So I think even though
dragons kill Lannister army, dragons attack Whites, dragon gets killed. Dragon burns down.
I mean, that was probably the only big scene, the dragon burning down the wall, because you're like, finally the Whites are here after 7 seasons of, I don't know.
Not only that, but it was snowing in Westeros at the end.
Winter is here,
winter.
But let's go back to Jon Snow and the incest thing. Let's tackle this issue properly, because if we're going to mention it. Okay, from season 1 all the way to season 7, we've been kind of introduced to incest through, like, you had as you said, Jaime and Cersei. Then you had Craster, who had...
I forgot
with his daughters, and then
about him.
Donate his kids to the White Walkers, and then they would make another White Walker at the kids from touching them. So we kind of being brainwashed and desensitized from all this stuff. And then because Jon Snow and Daenerys have different backgrounds, Because you see Jon Snow, he's actually grew up with Catelyn and Ned. And Daenerys, she grew up with Viserys and she got shipped off to Khal Drogo. So they have different backgrounds.
So you don't see an incest, basically.
Are you trying to normalize incest here?
I'm just trying to say the other point. I'm not trying to say incest is a good thing and practice it. I'm not trying to say that, bro. But I'm just giving you the two different backgrounds of what it is.
That's smashed.
I don't condone it, but they're different people, and this is like a revelation.
I think it's like they're the show's two protagonists, and everyone always wants, if they're a male and a female, the people watching always want the show protagonists to get together.
It's one of them things, and then with the big reveal, you also forgot to mention that Tyrion, he was outside and he was just watching.
Why was that important? Why was he there?
Because Tyrion eventually in the
he's
interview,
like, I want to be part of this as well.
Yeah,
I'm also related to you guys. He wants to be part of incest.
Okay, so let's go through the Tyrion is a Targaryen theory. There's a theory that Aerys Targaryen was obsessed with what's his name, Tyrion's mother. It was implied in the show, and then right when Tyrion kills him, Tywin says, "You are not my son." Yeah. That might not sound like much, but Tyrion is one of the few people to have touched a dragon. The other two being Daenerys and Jon Snow.
Yeah.
So that's what gives credence to the theory.
Yeah, but there's other people in the books and stuff like that who've touched dragons, as we can see in all the other books. But with Tyrion,
we're talking about the show. In the show, very few have.
Okay, that's fair enough. But me personally, I don't believe Tyrion's Targaryen. I think that's too far fetched. And yeah, there's the thing that the dragon has 3 heads. So people believe it'd be Daenerys, Jon Snow, and
one other.
But now that one of the dragons dead and turned,
exactly.
But the prophecies are. You don't realize that the prophecies are probably false. They're just like you interpret them however you want to interpret them.
You see how Jon Snow dismissed the other prophecy, where Daenerys says I couldn't bear a child, and then Jon Snow was like.
But she's been banging what's his name for ages.
No, but I was talking to Assad about this. That I thought. I can't have children. I was like, when was that established? And he said, the witch said basically she said when will Drogo when she quote unquote cured Drogo, she said when he'll be normal, and she says when the sun rises from the west, when you bear children again, when the mountains are dust. Yeah, but then the thing is, why is she trusting the prophecy?
She's not trusting the prophecy.
But the mountains got this now, aren't they? The world's collapsed, so
it's true.
Who knows?
But I think
so it is the end of the world, baby. Yes. Okay.
No,
it's not just that. It's because she has had partners. She's had what's his name, Daenerys Naharis, and she didn't conceive any children.
I guess so, but I think I had a theory that it's going to be some sicko plot twist that certain Targaryens can only have kids, or maybe female Targaryens can only have kids with other Targaryens.
But she had a child with Drogo.
Yeah, but he died.
But that's because of the magic and all the funky stuff.
Maybe. But I think they're gonna have something that she gets pregnant by Jon because
it's very possible.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
And he's like,
this could lead to another storyline where like, is Cersei really pregnant? By the way,
she believes she is.
She believes she is.
Yeah.
Or does she?
Going back one sec, Tyrion. Do you think he's betrayed him? Because they never showed the conversation.
He's heartbroken, bro. He's like in the friend zone now. Him and
it could be him.
Both.
Do you think so?
Yeah, because he likes it in one of the interviews. He said that. He said his character, whoever plays Tyrion, I forgot his name now.
Peter Dinklage.
Yeah, Peter Dinklage. He said that he's in love with Daenerys too.
Really?
So,
that didn't come across.
Not
like
at all. Yeah, until that scene. But
I
that scene, I thought he betrayed him.
Yeah,
I thought he just like she's the greatest ruler.
Yeah, I thought he idolizes her as a good ruler. Actually, that brings me on to a point, but I thought he just idolizes
she's a terrible ruler.
But she's not a good ruler, firstly. And
let's go back to her. Let's go back to her in Essos. What did she do in Meereen? She takes over. She crucifies the major population. I mean, it's like the American approach. Going into Iraq, these brown people are no good. We're trying to civilize them. The only thing good for them is get my dragon and burn a lot of them, and then they're okay.
Her moral compass is all over the place. Slavery is bad, but I'm going to feed this guy to a dragon.
Yeah, and it's like it's just glossed over.
Also, she keeps talking about Westeros. I want to break the wheel. I want to change the system. But the main thing that she's about is no slaves. But Westeros slavery is.
She's talking about feudalism. She wants to break the wheel of feudalism. But she's obviously got really bad political ideas because she refused to appoint an heir before she went on a life-threatening mission.
Yeah, true. What about that scene where she burns the 2 Tarlys? Is that based like a major significance? Because
I think it was. It went back to the map. She's her father's daughter, and that's what it was.
Didn't he burn people alive as well?
Yes, that's right. And so obviously she's crazy.
Everyone
she's
made
insane.
that link, yeah.
She's crazy, isn't it? She's just as crazy. She's not there yet, but she's just as crazy.
You said Tyrion's worse, son. Tyrion warned her against it, so has your opinion changed or not?
I don't know. No, I was just saying Tyrion's a bad hand because of his tactics.
No, he said he's a bad hand, not a bad person.
He's not a bad person. He's a bad
But
hand.
he's like bad strategically.
Yeah, but then he
Carry on. No, I'm just saying. Sorry, 5 minutes left. Keep going.
warned her against it as a hand.
There were several reasons why she shouldn't have burnt them. One, she should.
Reasons why she should, but yeah, you go first.
Firstly, everyone sees that she shows that she's a savage and she's just like her father.
Yeah.
No one wants to fall another Daenerys Targaryen on the throne. Secondly, you need someone to control the reach now because there's nobody there.
Yeah,
who better to do it than to do a Tarly? Plus, why the hell did Randall Tarly not bend the knee to her? Because he clearly changed his allegiance from the Tyrells to Cersei in a heartbeat.
Yeah, but you only get one betrayal in it.
Again, that's something not really established.
Yeah,
Man.
Did he realize that his sword was missing? And then what happened to that sword?
Also, I thought.
And what happened to Ghost? Sorry, I remember. Sam took it.
Yeah.
Sam took the sword, but I think the sword was just staged. It wasn't a massive significance.
Yeah.
It was a Valyrian steel sword. There was a Heartsbane.
Yeah.
It's one of the most valuable.
Anyway, one thing we haven't talked about is around the Stark women.
Sansa and Arya.
Sansa and Arya. Okay, Sansa's a minor character. I don't really want to talk about. Arya, when did she become such an awesome fighter?
Well, when she went to Bravos, she hid her sword because she had to forget herself.
And she was blind and learned to fight when she was blind at one point.
With a stick. And not very well.
The only sword training she does is, I think, it's in the first season with
Cyril Farrell.
Cyril Farrell, and it probably does it for like 2 weeks before.
Hey, someone was telling me, wasn't there a scene where she attempted to stab the hand with her sword and it got stuck in her armor and then he kicked her or something?
Yeah, he just slaps her and knocks her over.
Yeah,
but that's what I'm saying. But now, from there, she doesn't really do so much sword training or assassin training at all.
But what you understand is her character. When Arya finished,
you forgot to finish the Tarly point thing.
It was bad. It was bad.
It was good though.
It wasn't good. He burned them alive.
But he was Warden of the South, so then after he's made Warden of the South, it'd be pretty stupid for him to change his allegiance. Number 2, a lot of them did bend the knee, but the people that didn't, they were standing up and they needed to see an example of Daenerys' rage and a fear, but she has to be firm. She's going to be nice. So if she burns Dickon and Randall, they're both gone, and then
she kills father and son just like her father, her father before her.
There's also one more son left as well, but yeah, and he
just like what's his name, Ned's brother and his father. Does anyone remember that? The story.
Sam took the black in it, so Sam can't.
He can't take over.
True. But then
and it leads the region chaos.
All the people that have seen what Daenerys is like, they can go back and then maybe they can spread the fever.
She's crazy.
So she doesn't have to.
She's crazy. We gotta get rid of her at all costs.
Anyway, going back to Arya. So
okay. So basically, the way it works is, when you're playing an RPG and your character levels up, and then he levels up in all areas, even areas he doesn't train. That's what happens.
Yeah, she becomes a master assassin. Yeah. I mean, she doesn't even kill the first target that the Faceless Men give her. That guy at the docks who's like skinny and eats oysters. She only has to kill him. She doesn't kill him. She doesn't kill the other actress.
She kills the waif, and then he's like, "You are finally no one." Even though you're clearly Arya Stark because you're holding in the same morals.
But I did like the scene where Peter Baelish finally gets what's coming to him and gets.
Man, that was a big scene.
I think it was a bit silly because it was like, "Hey, haven't you proved this? My crippled crazy brother saw it in a vision."
No, but she saw it.
Oh, you crippled crazy brother saw it in a vision. Clearly, this is enough evidence to sentence a man to death.
but she saw. Sansa seen Baelish kill her aunt, didn't she? That's enough.
Yeah. But Sansa lied and protected him, so shouldn't she also?
She's the lady of the whatever.
And it does make sense why the guys from.
And she was scared at the time, I remember, and she was.
But he protected her from the crazy aunt who wanted to kill her.
But only for his own interest.
But then he kissed possibly.
And then he sold her off.
Yeah.
So
Ramsay.
Yeah, to Ramsay of all people to Ramsay. Yeah. So he kind of had it coming.
Thing. Now hold up.
So I think her opinion of him has changed.
Bran saw the wedding. Bran saw that wedding correctly.
Yeah.
That's why she trusts him, and Bran knows what happened. So maybe she can take a bit of like.
She can, but why the other people? Why the other people gonna?
Poor does it? But no, because she's like the higher up. It's like the noble in it.
She's in charge.
But she didn't take anything that Bran said on board, did she?
Yes, she did.
Was it for Ned Stark thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the thing is that I was quite surprised that nobody knows that Littlefinger betrayed Ned Stark when he did it quite openly in a large room full of people. Yeah, there were gold cloaks, but
far away in it.
People are going to
1,000 miles.
talk, you know. It
King's
would
Landing
grow.
to Winterfell is pretty far away.
Yeah, but that's got a big treachery in
Not
it.
if you time travel.
The way those ships are moving,
Sorry,
man,
fast travel,
and
fast travel.
those ravens. But
They
yeah,
never unlocked it then. But yeah.
but you know, I just want to say, you know, I did the season. This season, I didn't enjoy it as much. I thought it was a bit of a filler.
I think
to
it's one of
build up
the
the
yeah
White
to build up
Walkers.
the last one. It was enjoyable, but it doesn't feel like Game of Thrones anymore.
Yeah, there wasn't
that's
a
what I
theme.
feel.
There was no. I can't put my finger on a theme for this.
But I want to
season.
say, I think season 5 also followed suit. It was a bit of a filler. It slowed down,
For
And
my
then-
yeah, carry on, yeah, sorry.
and then season 6 picked up a bit.
For myself, I thought that this is one of my favorite seasons, and I
If
enjoyed
that's
it.
what you're saying,
Yeah,
what was the theme for this season?
the theme for the season
can't
was
put a
to
finger on
show the calm before the storm. It was to assemble everyone.
We've had we've had
Everyone
6,
on
7 seasons of Calm Before the Storm.
Yeah.
Winter's
We've been
coming.
waiting. We've been waiting for winter for
Now
forever.
the snow's here. The snow's here, and winter is here. So now we can
These
do it.
seasons.
All right, guys, that's all the time we've got for today.
It's a shame.
We made it a bit longer because it's obviously big. It's a big season. Let us know your thoughts. Like, comment, subscribe, share this video. Let us know any criticisms, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much.